What's up YouTube? Scott here with the Carrera Cafe, and today we have another exciting high performance Audi to share with you guys. Behind me is currently the world's fastest production SUV. This is the 2025 Audi RSQ8 Performance. It's currently the Nurburgring lap time record holder for SUVs with a time of 7 minutes and 36 seconds. That's actually 1 second faster than a Lexus LFA, a Nissan GTR, and 1 second faster than a 997 Turbo S, all in an SUV that you can cart the family around in. So today we're going to be spending some time with this vehicle to see if it can truly be the ultimate daily driver for somebody who maybe just needs one vehicle to get the job done. This vehicle comes to us on loaner from Audi Exchange Kirkwood. They're a dealer here just outside St. Louis, Missouri, and they've got 2 locations just outside Chicago. I'll have a link in the description for this specific RSQ8. It is for sale and available at the time of producing this video, so feel free to check out their inventory. With that, let's get behind the wheel and I'll give you guys my thoughts. All right, behind the wheel of the 2025 Audi RSQ8 Performance. We'll start with a little bit of history, just in case you aren't familiar with the Q8. The RS is obviously the high performance variant of the Audi Q8. The Q8's kind of been the flagship SUV for Audi for a long time, along with the Q7, but it is a part of the Volkswagen Audi Porsche group. So the Q8 actually shares a chassis and a lot of driveline components with the Porsche Cayenne, the Lamborghini Urus, and the Bentley Bentayga. So it's a pretty widely used platform, and it's been around for a while. One of the things that's really nice about this particular driveline is it's just so well put together and refined. Audi has done a very good job at incorporating technology, but not taking too far from the driving experience. There's a lot electronically going on in this vehicle, like rear steering, when you're out there having fun, but it still feels very connected, which is nice. You know, a lot of new vehicles nowadays, they've gotten so fast and there's so many different electronic components that the driving experience has gotten a little numb. And I'm proud to say that Audi has done a good job keeping that in this vehicle. Fast forward to 2025, we now get the performance variant of the RSQ8, which adds about 30 extra horsepower, I believe. And it is noticeable, and that's reflective, like I said, in the Nurburgring lap time record. Believe it or not, that from a performance perspective, currently the Audi RSQ8 is the fastest production SUV, and that's based around the Nurburgring lap time record of 7 minutes and 36 seconds. That is faster than the Lamborghini Urus and the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, even though they share the same platform. From a non-SUV perspective, not necessarily that fair of a comparison, but pretty cool that it can run with these other sports cars. That's 1 second faster than the Lexus LFA, the Nissan GTR, and the 997 911 Turbo S around the lap. So that's pretty crazy to think that you can have a SUV with a back seat and put down that type of performance. So a little bit of history. The Q8's been around for a while, and it just has continued to get refined. Let's talk about the kind of cosmetics side of things, because that is one of the differences between the 4 vehicles that share this platform. I would say the Lamborghini Urus and the Q8 are kind of, they've got more hard lines, which I like. The Bentley Bentayga and the Cayenne Turbo are a little bit softer and kind of more bubbly. I think the Q8 falls in the sweet spot of having those harder lines, but not quite as aggressive of a look at me statement that you get with the Lamborghini Urus. So I think it kind of falls in the sweet spot. Over time, Audi has refined some of those lines, the headlights, the taillights, different badging, and on the Performance, we get this kind of carbon fiber matte in a lot of different places on the outside, around the grille, the mirrors, the rear diffuser. And I really like that look. There's some of it trickled through the interior here as well. In terms of kind of drivability, right now I've just kind of got the thing in comfort mode and we're just cruising around, but it's very well insulated in here. I don't hear a lot of the road noise outside. I mean, until you really get into it, this doesn't necessarily feel like a 630 horsepower, track machine, which is just crazy that they can have that level of, dynamic range. Audi's done a good job with interiors for a long time. Build quality is good in here. Things are put together very well. There's no rattles and creaks. I'm a sucker for Alcantara suede, and there's plenty of that in here, both in the steering wheel, the shifter, the armrest, and a couple other places, so I like that a lot. Plenty of ambient lighting in here if that's your thing. It's kind of standard nowadays. As far as technology goes, this has got Audi's virtual cockpit, so you've got a lot of configurability in here in the gauge cluster and in the screens. Unfortunately and fortunately, manufacturers, the screens all over the place has just kind of become the standard. What I do really like that Audi did, though, is the screen at the bottom here is specific for climate controls only. So I've always got my climate controls here that can be adjusted. There's nothing worse than needing to change the climate and having to cycle through menus. That is not the case here, which I can really appreciate. Backup camera, 360 cameras, all very high res like you'd expect from an SUV at this price point. I'm a sucker for stereo as well. This has the Bang & Olufsen stereo, which just sounds phenomenal. There's no rattles and creaks at high volume, and if you're a music person, you will not be disappointed. So we'll talk a little bit more about performance, and as we're waiting for the road to open up a little bit for us, this is the 4-liter V8 twin turbo that's been used in a lot of other platforms, like I mentioned. But it's been refined and tuned over time, and the RSQ8 Performance is the most powerful variant of that engine. This is actually Audi's most powerful combustion vehicle ever made. There's some electric ones that produce more power, but as far as combustion goes, this is Audi's most powerful vehicle. It does still possess a ZF transmission, which is important, which means you can still tow things with it. If this vehicle were to have, a dual clutch transmission, you'd have some towing restrictions there, making it kind of less of a capable SUV. One of the other things I noticed that I really like is the tires on this vehicle are squared. It is 295 tires all around, so you can actually rotate these tires. Some of these high-performance SUVs have a staggered tire setup, so the rear tires are slightly wider than the front. It might give you a little bit more of a performance edge, but then you're stuck with tire wear over time, not being able to rotate them. So I'm glad that Audi has done that. It just makes the tires last longer. Hopefully it'll make up for the brake costs down the road. You probably don't want to be the owner 10 to 15 years from now replacing these carbon ceramics. I think the carbon ceramics are a $22,000 brake job on these. But holy cow, do they work well. If you were going to go out to the track, these would be absolutely the brakes that you want. And I apologize, guys. I'm getting over a cold, so I am a little bit sniffly. So that's why I was out of town and got sick, so that's the delay in the video for you guys. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. All right, I'm going to throw this thing in dynamic and manual, and we're going to have some fun and just let you guys listen. this thing just wants to absolutely go. You know, manufacturers are going to smaller displacement, less cylinders, more hybrid and electronic components. You might be able to get more power out of that, but you will not get that growl. Oh my gosh. Really good brake bite. You know, I feel confident going into these corners. Steering is just very point and shoot. I can tell where I'm going to place the car. It's unbelievable to think that this is a full-size SUV. Oh my God. Apologize, I've got camera gear rattling around in the back. This beast has shaken everything loose. Wow. So let's talk about who this vehicle might be for. Okay, so obviously if you're a car enthusiast and you've got the luxury of multiple vehicles and you've got your performance weekend cars already, your two-doors, and you want something to take the family around in without giving up any performance, this absolutely ticks those boxes. Maybe you're an enthusiast and you only can have one vehicle that kind of does it all. Maybe you need to convince the soon-to-be wife or soon-to-mother-to-be that you're going to buy a family SUV and sneak out to the track on the weekends. This could certainly tick those boxes for you. I could totally see this being the one vehicle that does it all for somebody. Obviously, if you live in a cooler climate area, you're probably going to want a set of, you know, all seasons or winter tires to make this the truly one car does it all, because these high performance tires that are on here now do a really good job at putting down power, but I don't know that I would be driving them in 5 or 6 inches of snow. If you're looking at a Lamborghini Urus, a Aston Martin DBX, a Porsche Cayenne GT, you know, any of those like top tier high performance SUVs, I would encourage you to get out and drive one of these, because you could in theory save yourself $50,000 to $100,000, if not more, depending on what you're looking at, and get a very similar driving experience. Like I said, this has got actually the record right now for fastest production SUV, so it's faster than those and costs less, surprisingly. I believe the MSRP on this specific vehicle is $156,000, give or take. And this vehicle, again, is for sale right now at Audi Exchange Kirkwood here in St. Louis. I'll have a link in the description in case you're interested in this specific RSQ8. All right, we're gonna let these cars get in front of us and we'll do a nice kind of wide open hole here. Wow. And I'm not going 100%. This obviously is a vehicle that is for sale, so I want to be cautious with it here. So you won't be seeing me doing any brake boosting launches or anything here. But I do want to give you guys a look at the performance, because it is quite unbelievable. It does not feel like an SUV should be able to do what this thing is doing right now. One of the technology things I've noticed while I'm driving this is down in the gauge cluster, which is obviously configurable with Audi's virtual cockpit. It shows me when there are vehicles next to me in my blind spots, versus having to rely on the mirrors to check for your blind spots. You know, cars nowadays have all these indicators in the mirrors, as does this one. So if you glance over, you'll see the light illuminated that somebody's in your blind spot. But now I can actually just glance down and I can see without turning that I've got folks in my blind spot, which is pretty cool. Wow, that sound will never get old. Wow. Well guys, I appreciate you tuning in for another video. It's been really exciting watching the channel grow and getting support from you guys. I've got more videos coming your way, both about vehicles in my garage, as well as some more inventory that I've been talking about with Audi Exchange. Thinking about doing a budget electric car video for you guys with a Porsche Taycan or an Audi e-tron GT. You know, I'm not a huge proponent of electric vehicles. You know, there's nothing better than a nice growly V8 like this. But now that some of the EVs have depreciated 60-70%, I'm interested to see if maybe those might make sense for a daily driver, for an enthusiast who's already got something combustion-wise on the weekends. So hopefully bringing you guys a kind of a budget, high-performance EV video here soon. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.